Welcome to the very first attempt or test run of the DNN Show and Tell Meetup. Um, yeah, it's always good to start with the word right?
Yes.
So as a brief intro, because we're going to get our first demo going in about 4 minutes. Um, so just a quick recap of what we're doing. We're basically doing DNN related demonstrations, explanations, even to the point maybe they'll be seen as mini trainings. There's a lot of stuff in DNN that got missed over the years or changed, and we just basically want to start. Reason two is why we want to start generating some content that's more up to date, that more looks like DNN when you get it installed and out of the box. It's no fun spinning up a video from somebody on how to do something, and you don't even recognize that we once had a template called Dark Knight. So, and the people running the show, my two co-hosts with me are, um, you guys can let people in. Oh, we don't have to let people
We
in. They're
don't have
coming
to.
straight in.
So they
Cool.
can walk in and just
So,
join us.
Marco Alvarado of Global Ode is one of my co-hosts, and he'll be doing a demo today related to SEO. I'm sure you're all shocked by that. And then my other co-host is Steve Karpik of Blue Rhino Design. Both have been in and around the DNN community for a long time, but I seem to have cajoled them into stepping in front of the camera and doing this stuff with me. And we've had some fun meetings planning this out. So looking forward to whatever this turns into, even if today's not very representative of what it becomes. So we are going to do this first Tuesday of each month. That could change, so definitely check back on. Oh, I skipped over who I am. So I'm Jeremy Farrance with Security Solutions. We are out here on the central coast of the United States. Um, Blue Rhino's up in Canada, and Marco is down in Costa Rica, right? I think I know that. Good. All right. Um, First Tuesday of each month. Check back to our Meetup page, which used to be one of these tabs. And if anything changes, obviously it'll be here. We are going to forego, in most cases, we'll forego the official need to sign up in Meetup, but we'd like it if people do that because it gives us, it shows off we have 10 attendees, and in the future, we hope there'll be more. But as anyone who was in Discord this evening noticed, about an hour before, I posted the direct Zoom link invitation. So you could, if you need to, bypass the meetup. You don't have to sign up for account or do the guest thing. You can come straight in, join us. Also, there was a couple people who misunderstood and thought to show up you had to do a demo. That is not the case. You can just show up and be our audience or hecklers. Well, don't do that. All right, did I cover all the bases, guys? Should we get started?
Yeah, let's get started, man.
All right. Um, so someone hopefully somewhere is watching chat. David asked me, what is Central Coast? Well, I'm out in Illinois and we don't have a coast, so technically this is the Central Coast. All right, that doesn't make sense, but I'll move on. All right, I'm doing the first demo. Um, what I wanted to demo was oh wow, Daniel has joined us. How you doing, Daniel? I hear it's late where you are.
Actually, it's very early.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it.
It's just past midnight. Yeah.
All right. So the first thing we're going to demo is the new DNN upgrade process. I've got in front of you a DNN 10.2.1, simply because it's better than 10.2.0. And if you go to Settings, Servers, and click on the Upgrades tab, you'll notice I preset this up on purpose. I've got the new upgrade screen, but I am missing the upload button. And I freely admit I did that on purpose just to demo that part of it, because some people are still going to run into it and you're going to want to fix it quickly. So to fix that, you want to go to the root of your DNN site. This should look familiar to all of you who have done things the old way for a long time. You go into your web.config. I'm bringing it up in VS Code. Shut that. And what you're looking for is the app settings. All right. And the reason the button's missing is because I commented it out here. For some people, this will be completely missing, and you'll need to go find the issue on the DNN issues page, and someone has this in here, which you can cut and paste and put in place. You'll be able to find it in a few places. I think it's also going to get added to the DNN docs for the upgrade path page, which we'll get back to in a little bit. That's right there. So now, if you see me uncomment that, hit save. Now I'm going to come over here, reload the page. Hopefully I did the right web config file. It looks like it because it's taking a little bit to warm back up. Make sure this one's warmed up. I have a backup install ready to go in case something else goes wrong here. All right, so now on the upgrades tab, you see upload package. One of the other things I've noticed people do wrong or say wrong is that they think you need to still use the DNN upgrade package. So let's go out and see where we find those. You go to the GitHub DNN platform site. Hopefully most of you have been there. You go to releases. And we're just going to deal with the latest one at the top, 10.3.0. Actually, I haven't done it with 10.3.0, but we want the install package. The misunderstanding a few people have had, and I even had for quite a few weeks because I just didn't read deep enough or comprehend it. You don't need to use the upgrade package. What's actually going to happen is instead of unzipping all the files on top of your site, you're going to do this download, zip that up, and then you're going to get to downloads, DNN. I did this ahead of time, so I'm going where I know it is. And there we go. I've got the install package right here. So we're going to come back. I'm going to say upload package. We have a drag and drop situation, which is always nice. Now, one of the reasons for doing this, I think, is worth covering. You got some nice details in here. You can see the upload worked. One of the reasons for doing this is because in the old days, we just copied those files in, and you really had no control over things. Now, DNN itself has the zip file. In the background, when I start this process, it's going to unzip that into a temporary folder. And now some smart guys have written some code that are going to compare DLLs over there with DLLs in the bin directory. And this way, they'll be able to discover any issues, conflicts. So one of the things we're hoping is we will be able to, in the future, avoid a lot of the what was called DLL hell or binding redirect issues. So you kick the process off by clicking these footsteps. This may change to an apply or some other kind of button in the future because I do know a few people who are confused or afraid to click this button, but that's how you start. In the background, as you can guess, unzipping is happening. Another thing that'll surprise you when we get to the next step is you still go through the upgrade process you've seen before. The screens in a moment will just suddenly become the same. So actually, I meant to be in that root folder and show you what was going on, but I'm going to skip that for now. I will show you that while that's running. There it is. It's ready to go. So here's the website. I just wanted to show you that another thing you can do if you're missing that button, instead of enabling it with the web.config, you can go into app data. And there's a new folder here called upgrade. You can notice it's gone already because it's been unzipped and deleted, but you can drop the zip file you download of the install package and put it right in this folder, refresh your DNN, and it will show up right away as if you uploaded it. All right, so click here to start the upgrade process, and now things are going to look very familiar. And as you know, when DNN's compiling stuff or doing other warm-up activities, waiting is very familiar. So give that a second. All right, and this screen should look familiar to everybody. I'm gonna cheat and pre-fill that and proceed onward. And all of this part of the upgrade process is the same now. The real benefit came from DNN doing the unzip comparison, and hopefully in the future, they'll be able to do other things to fix the before and after situation so that your upgrade can go more smoothly or in some cases successfully where it might not have otherwise. This is a pretty fast machine, but this still takes a bit. I haven't actually done an upgrade from 10.2.1 to 10.3.0, so there is a slight chance we could see an error here. I've seen a couple people run into situations where they see a DLL conflict error, which we should avoid, which we should not see. All right, while we're waiting for that to finish, it does say 100%, but this all right, I'm going to separate this out and talk while we're waiting for that. So one of the other important things that has changed a little bit in the last few weeks is once you are upgrading DNN seriously, you need to pay attention to this DNN platform suggested upgrade path. You can find this in Google quickly by typing 3 words, DNN upgrade path. Top result, and you're already there. This has been reorganized with the recent stuff first. So there's a lot of notes on each one. I highly recommend you read these, especially if you're stuck further back in time. I actually know some people who as recently as 2 months ago got upgraded from 7 point something all the way into the tens. Quite an effort, but a lot of the things that are noted on this page are really important to get there successfully. So as you can see, everything worked. We have 10.3.0. Not really much else to show there. Everything should work. Another thing I wanted to mention briefly is a lot of people have become aware that there's been a constant series of difficulties upgrading, getting from version 9.13.9 or 10 up into version 10. And there's some people working on stuff that's going to help with that. I'll be able to announce stuff hopefully next month. But we're really looking to make sure that a lot of the issues, and there's been many fixed already in subsequent releases, all the 10.2.1 had some fixes in .2, and then .3 did all the final fixes on the new CDF stuff. Things are getting fixed in a way, though, that we're going to make the leap from 9 to 10 a lot easier. So we do need more testing. One of the things that I think's been obvious, I'm down to my last minute here. One of the things that I think's been obvious is that even the vendors have not been doing testing recently. If you're watching this and you're a vendor, come on, guys, get to it. If you're still making money on this stuff, you need to not leave people hanging and seeing these bad upgrade screens. And for the rest of us, take some time, do some upgrades, play around. I've actually had a lot of fun doing it. So please also note that DNN is an open source framework. No one's paid to do anything. So when you have issues, be nice in the discussions, in the issues. No one's getting paid to do this, and it's much nicer if we're all friendly. So, all right, well, that's my demo. Do we have any questions?
I do have a question, Jeremy.
Go ahead.
When you download the zip file for the latest DNN version, you didn't unblock the zip file. So can we safely say that that's no longer required or still something that we
I
might want to do.
I still do it usually. I did not do it that time just because I skipped over it for speed. I
Okay.
still think it's worthwhile, but that's more of a Windows thing than it is anything else. And some people have their network set up and their Windows set up so that is not important or blocked anymore. It used to be a big hassle 10 years ago, but I don't know the right answer. Does anyone here know the correct answer?
I
I've had
have
it,
never
I've had
had
it
the
work
issue, but
with
I
or
know
without.
some users had, and I think it has to do with antivirus and stuff. So
Antivirus, the user
if,
UAC was another factor.
yeah, I never had the issue with just Windows Defender, never had to unlock.
Yeah, I feel like it's gone
So,
away, but I'm not sure.
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it was also tied to Internet Explorer, and thank God that is behind us. All right. Well, unless anyone
I
objects,
don't have a question, but I have a comment
sure.
for people maybe viewing this video after the fact. The upgrade path that you are currently showing is true as the moment of this recording.
Right.
Very, very shortly, we're gonna have a 10.2.4, probably even today. And the 10.3.1, they will both be RCs, of course, for people to be able to test, but the upgrade path will be adjusted here to go to 10.2.4
Right.
before going to the latest version. And that as nothing else, then fixing that upload button so
Yeah,
that
that's
people
true.
can have a good stepping stone to get to the latest version.
Yeah, the 10.2.4 is going to help a lot. I wasn't sure we were talking about that yet, but you brought it up, so that's cool. There is a special version of DNN coming, and it will be specifically for people at 9.10. I'm sorry, 9.13.9 or 9.13.10. From either of those, you will use the old unzip method and go straight to 10.2.4. And that version contains pre-fixed for you at least 10 or 11 things that could have gone wrong on any of the steps in between. So that will become the new target. We highly recommend using that. And let's move on to the next demo. I believe Steve is up, which means I need to give up my
Oh,
screen. How do I give up my screen? There it is. Stop sharing. Go ahead, Steve.
all right, so I'm going to start sharing. Share. And it should be this guy, I hope. Let's see what happens. Okay. You should see.
Your cat.
Oh, I hope you see a
There you go.
cracking the code.
We do.
No, you do. Okay, so here's the motivation for this work. I develop exhibits for museums, and in 2018, I developed a roll of honor for a Canadian military regiment, and it had about 5,000 names, and the application was done in English only, although I had the data for both, but at that time it was English only. And it was written in WPF. It was a desktop application to work on a big touchscreen. Recently, they want me to make it bilingual, and they want to make it easily updatable if there has to be changes to this. And I thought about working with the WPF, and I decided it was a bad idea because the database was badly structured and editing the stuff, it's just a big pain. So I thought, let's use DNN and 2Sexy because there's so many tools that I can use here. And I've been using this for a lot of museum exhibits these days. It works really well. But there's a problem. I had all this data in a SQL database that was bilingual data, but there was no easy way to programmatically move the data from the SQL database into my into my 2Sexy application. And so this is all about, this is not so much that this what I've done is useful, but it's an interesting exploration on how to use artificial intelligence to help you through this sort of thing. So I had Claude to try to help me, And it was just basically, I had this website that had en.ca and fr.ca as languages. And let's say I have some sort of uh, uh, entity called a bilingual person. And I'll show you, I'll slide this over here. So bilingual person, it's got a name, an eye color, and a favorite food in French and English. So this is sort of an easy substitute for what I'm trying to do. So let's say I'm trying to move something from a SQL database into this directory of what people like as their favorite foods. The problem was that there doesn't, when I remember I posted something on GitHub a few months ago, and the consensus was, well, right now we don't quite have that in Too Sexy that's available, maybe sometime in the future. So then I thought, well, gee, why don't I try to do something myself? So I asked ChatGPT and I said, what do you think? And it said, you must be out of your mind. You'd have to go way deep into Too Sexy. You don't want to do it. I said, are you sure? And it no, requires changes to Too Sexy's EAV engine. Okay. Then I went to Claude, and Claude pretty much said the public API does not support this use case. So at this time, I'm starting to get a little depressed, and I'm thinking, like, you guys are supposed to be helping me, these large language models. So I said, well, let's say I'd like to do something just to show Daniel Metler that I'm doing something useful, right? Maybe it's garbage, but let's give it a try. So hard to believe I actually had to argue with Claude to let me proceed. So finally, Claude says, okay, we'll do it. And it will be at best, it's going to be something that will prove to Daniel that, yes, indeed, we need this and there is no way around it. So then I start to work with Claude. And Claude is dumb in many ways. It doesn't know anything about DNN. It would often get confused about different versions of DNN, versions of Too Sexy, and even just thinking it's just like playing out ASP.NET. And so it tried 4 strategies, which were basically trying to tell the website that since the only way I could write to something is if it was a primary language, maybe I can do some stuff to somehow trick it and make it think that en-fr is the primary language. Well, I don't want to even reflect on how many days I spent arguing with Claude over this one, and we tried everything. We ran around in circles, and ultimately it came to failure. So then Claude, Claude is a compassionate creature, I guess, whatever we call him. He said, don't worry, I'm sure Daniel will appreciate what you've done here, and you've proven the necessity for it. Well, I'm way more stubborn than Claude is. So I said, I can edit stuff in Too Sexy, and there's got to be a hint there if I look at the edit screen. Maybe I can make something work. It won't necessarily be perfect, but it will be kind of interesting. So, and basically the reason why I couldn't do this is because, and Daniel can later correct me, it seems that once you set the language for the website, you can't mess with it, even though I tried really hard. So what I did then is I thought to myself, well, let's look carefully at the edit screens that come up in Too Sexy, look at what the endpoints are, and see if I can create some sort of web API that is going to use this. So figure out what the structure of the JSON packages are and all this sort of stuff, and see whether we can, do something. And again, Claude was not exactly supportive. It says that sounds like a lot of work, and I don't know how to do that stuff. So I'm having to look through the code to figure out what the heck's going on, because I use Too Sexy a lot, but I don't understand the way it works. And honestly, I'm more of a desktop guy than a web person, so this is a little obscure to me. So this is what I ended up doing, and I'll show you guys a little bit of details here. So if I created this thing called a bilingual person. So it's got a name, eye color, favorite food. And if I go back over to here, we can see, I'll just show you a little bit of what I wrote. Here we go, API. I wrote something called a multilingual controller. And this is basically a whole bunch of stuff to essentially try to replicate, I think, perhaps crudely, what Daniel does in Too Sexy in terms of saving and writing records. So I figured, well, what the heck? Let's give that a shot. So let's see, should I go back to here? Yeah. So before what I did, if I created, there was no way of making John Smith become anything but auto ENCA. There's no way of changing his eye color from blue to anything. But this thing lets me do it. So here's a little demo. I've made it to be quite general in terms of I didn't say it had to be English and French. It's a primary language and whatever languages. So if I do the get languages, there we go, primary language, ENSCA, all languages are this, the secondary language that. I imagine it probably also will work for multiple languages. So then if we go over to here and I create a test person, okay, there we are, blah, blah, blah. And it says success. I did something, record number 2995. So let's go back over to here. And I'm going to need to refresh this page just so I can see what's going on. Lump, lump, lump. There's got to be a better way to do it. And there we are. We have John Smith now. And John Smith is John Smith, blue eyes, and likes chocolate cake. The French side, for whatever reason, I put John with a different name, Jean Dupont, eye color bleu, and gâteau au chocolat. So
You're
there we are.
approaching 8 minutes.
I just created something. So now if we go back to here and I want to update it because he actually decides he likes apple pie rather. So I go 2995, update the test person. It says it worked. Now I go back to here, click on here, and there he is. He likes apple pie. And his name has been updated and a tarte aux pommes. So jumping back to here, and then if I want to list all the records, there we are. The first one was my cat Harold, who happens to like fish kibble, doesn't like cake or whatever. And it shows the English versions because I'm just accessing the English. If I was on the pages that was FR.SCA, then it would show me the French. So the conclusion here we're getting to is ultimately it'd be real nice if within Too Sexy, this sort of ability to create and alt and edit records was for other languages was there. But at least for the time being, I have a way to get the stuff from SQL to wherever into Too Sexy. I've put it all up on GitHub if anyone's interested. But the process of working with pleading with Claude was interesting because it gave up very easily. So that is that. So that's the end
That's
of my
really cool, Steve. I
presentation.
can't believe you solved that.
That's great, man.
I wouldn't have even tried.
I'm very stubborn, and
Very cool.
I have imagined that probably Daniel Mettler is looking at this and going, "No, God, how Stone Age?" But it does work, and but I certainly it was interesting, the large language models were right. There isn't right now built in an easy way to do it, and there's no way of cheating. So, but fortunately, by sort of almost reverse engineering the edit screens, I was able to accomplish what I wanted.
So if you
So,
have 3,000 records somewhere, are you going to be able to loop through and just
oh yeah,
plow all these in with
that's a
both languages?
that's a piece of cake. Yeah,
Oh, that's so cool to hear you say that now.
yeah, yeah. No, that's no problem. I got the stuff in by other means. I use the XML import, which I hate. It's really a pain when the records are complex. But I have to. There's some records that had the same words for a certain field. There was too many words, and I want to edit for all of those guys. So I'd be using that to do some sort of bulk editing of things. So
Cool. Anyone have any questions?
So I'm impressed. Yeah. Maybe I just want to add something. The reason why there's no public API yet is simply because these things take a lot of time to plan through so that they're stable for a long time, right? And if I make mistakes there, it's going to cost me dearly in the future because I'll have people that can't figure it out. I'll have to make changes that are going to be breaking, etc. So that's why I'm just pushing it ahead of me. And actually Claude and ChatGPT, they were not quite right. So of course there's no public API, there's no documented API, but let's say the API would technically be public. I mean, it's in the namespace somewhere. But of course, without samples and everything, it would also be very challenging to do it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I thought it was a situation where I thought, well, geez, maybe there's some way of tricking Too Sexy, but there wasn't. And, I had this need and I thought, well, I got to figure out some way to do this. So, and along the way, but it was an interesting process because the the the, the large language models are great for generating code really fast, but a lot of it is so misinformed where you have to say, no, that's actually not how it's done. And then especially when I was hitting the hard parts where I was trying to figure out how to cheat, it was sending me in circles. I spent a lot of times going around and around and around, which drove me nuts. And at the end, it's funny because I said to her, let's look at this thing. It says, well, I don't know what to do with it. I said, okay, I'll look at this. I'll look at the code behind the page and let's have a look at that. And it says, oh, there's the solution. I thought, well, you dummy. Like, of course there's the solution. But it's interesting because I was doing a project similar to this in 2018, and I had the same sort of need. I needed to be able to programmatically create English and French records. And I thought to myself, I know there's something I can probably essentially sort of cheat my way through by looking at the edit screen for Too Sexy. But at that time, I couldn't figure out a way to get through it. So it's taken, 8 years to have it sink into my head how to solve this. So that's that. So anyone who's curious, have a look at my GitHub for it, and I might, as I said, it's right now it's very specific for this particular, entity, the bilingual person. I might try to see if I can expand it just as in the interim, maybe it's something that's useful for people when they are moving stuff from old legacy websites and they want to, they don't maybe like or not comfortable with the XML procedure. It's just another way to do it.
All right. Well, before we move on to Marco's demo, I just wanted to mention two things. One, we sort of have a fourth demo lined up, thanks to Aaron, although he's going to be telling me what to do, and I'm hoping it's going to go quick, and it's also Too Sexy related. And we're going to stop the recording sometime around the 45, 50-minute mark, and I just wanted to encourage people, we're going to, if you want to, if anyone wants to, we're going to stay and chat afterwards. So, and now, Marco, go ahead, share your screen.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and share. Let me know if you're seeing my screen. You see a spreadsheet?
Sure
Yep.
do.
Excellent. So let's start the timer. Okay, guys. So my demo is focused on SEO. The idea of me being part of this show and tell, it's to create content a little bit different and focus on things that are more related to SEO. So I'm gonna be doing every month little demos of things that we're going to eventually be able to connect through the videos. So the first one that I'm going to share with you guys is one tool that I use a lot when I start with new clients. When I start with a new client, one of the things that we do is to research not only competitors, but the digital ecosystem where the business owner belongs to, right? So one of the key things that help us help the client focus on the things that are actually or keywords that we are really interested on, and trying to keep always the same focus, because when we start doing the website, it's easy to, just list some keywords and focus on that. But eventually, when time goes by and years go by, it's kind of hard to remember and go back, especially if you have a lot of keywords, a lot of pages that you are trying to aim. So, this spreadsheet that I'm sharing here, it's a simple spreadsheet that I usually share with clients. I like to get them involved in this part of the process, so I can educate them. And since they are the experts on their product and services, I always try to get them in the same line of the project as I am, so I can get the most out of their knowledge and their expertise. So this spreadsheet, first, it's pretty simple. I will share it. I will put a link on the video comments so everyone can download it if you guys want to. But it's just 3 pages, one for keywords, another one for titles, and another one for descriptions. Um, I will explain briefly the template and then go to the tool that I mentioned before. Now, one of the recommendations that I always do to my clients is to focus the keywords based on the services that the client has. And usually those services will have their own set amount of relevant keywords on Google. So this spreadsheet allows us to focus on which are the pages from the website that we are going to try to aim for SEO. For example, the business I'm going to use, one client that we have in Boston, Massachusetts, for meal prep service. I decided to use an outsider, let's put it that way, than just a local business down here in Costa Rica. But the first thing that we do is that we identify the page that we're going to create, and then we use this tool that I'm going to share with you guys to identify these keywords. And the keywords that we identify, it's keywords that have a big or a significant amount of volume. And those are the keywords that we want to focus on, mainly not just on the page itself, but on the content, because we want to always uh, keep in mind that we are aiming for these keywords, especially when time goes by. It's hard to remember which are the keywords, and we have to go back to the page and check the keyword section or check the description. Once we have the keywords, we go into the title. Titles are really important. Titles needs to have one of the main keywords. If you can put the business name at the end, that's also a good idea. But this template will allow you to specify the title that you want to. It will tell you based on this measurement if it's less than 49 characters, if it's more than 50 but less than 60, that's the ideal. And if it's more than 60, then you have to make sure it's less than that. We want the title of the page to be entirely be displayed on the SERPs pages from Google search, right? And then we have descriptions. Descriptions, they must be between 120 and 160 characters. Less than 119 will give you the yellow color, and if it's more than 160, will give you the red color. This is great, especially for using AI, because if we already have the keywords, for example, we can get some help from AI to give us a good description. But this is a process that we repeat with each page of the client based on the services or products they have. And what we want is to focus again on the keywords that we know that has a decent amount of volume, maybe related to the country, maybe it's an international company, so we have to focus on different countries. So we can create a strategy per language, for example. So this is the template, and this is how we use it. But now I'm going to go into the tool. Google Ads. This is the platform for you guys to advertise using Google's platform. You can advertise in YouTube, you can advertise in the search engine, and you can advertise in the Google Display Network, which is more than 3 million of websites right now. that have some sort of arrangement with Google through the platform called Google AdSense, and you can put text ads and image-based ads into these websites. So if you are in United States, for example, you can aim news websites, blogs related to the service or product, and you can display your logo. You can display a text-based ad, but the idea of this is to show you guys the tool. So Google Ads has this tool. I'm going to jump into one of the accounts and then go into tools. Inside of planning, we have this keyword planner. So the information that you're going to see here is mainly and 100% ads, right? But since, and you will see when I do the example, you will see that eventually, based on the numbers, we can definitely consider some of those keywords with the same exact behavior in organic than on advertisement, because a lot of businesses are trying to put ads over there. If we want to hide the menu so we can have more screen, we click on those, on that icon over there. And then we're going to go here to discover new keywords. And I'm just going to do meal prep service. And I'm going to go and get results. I have a couple of things that I can arrange. For example, I can change the language. So I'm going to select English. I can say I want to look just 12 months or 24 months. And I can go to location. And I can come here and say I want to see the whole country, for example. Or I want to see just city, for example. In this case, I'm going to aim for the state. So I'm going to go to Massachusetts. And I'm going to click Save. So now I'm going to have this set of keywords. These keywords, again, it's keywords that businesses are paying for or bid to be displayed to show their ads on Google SERPs. And if we go back, we have almost 2,000 keywords over here. So what I usually do, it's here, I go to average monthly searches, and I go and try to search for the top ones. This one shows the change from the last 3 months. This one shows the change from the month that we are currently at from last year, for example. Then this one, competition, shows how many or how much competition does this keyword have on the bid. Business, then we have the bid, the lowest bid historically advertisements have paid for this keyword, and the highest bid advertisers have paid historically. So this is just advertisement, but what I usually do is that I take the keywords that I have a decent volume, because this is what people are looking for in Google, and I select between 7 and 10 depending on the service. And once we have that, we go back into the template, we put the keywords, we create or come up with a title using the keywords, and then we come up with the descriptions. We usually have other tools, we don't only use Google Ads, the keyword planner tool, to do this. But I want to show you guys an example just to finish. I'm way over the 8 minutes now. So I'm just going to show you guys the example. I use this tool when I have to search for businesses that are not in Costa Rica. So it's from Bright Local search checker. I already did a search here for this keyword, meal prep service in Boston. And this is the results. So this is the Google Ads part, sponsor results. Then we have the Google Maps. And then we have the organic results, right? And if we go just down a little bit, then we have here the client that we have that we're currently working on for meal prep service. So this is a great tool to use, especially, again, and just to finish the demo, especially if we want to be focused and maintain the same keywords and try to remember easily what were the keywords that we're trying to aim and what were our focus at the beginning, so we can continue with that effort and don't do overlaps or do extra efforts on this matter. So that's my demo. I don't know if you guys have any questions that you guys want to share.
It's cool. I'm wondering, do you usually just focus on the main search volume, or do you also do like long tail work?
We focus, depending on the client and on the market itself, we try to come up with long tail keywords from the generic or the strong keywords, because usually when you have a long tail, those long tails will have a big part of this short tail keywords. So with AI now in the picture, long tails are more important than ever, right?
Mhm.
But again, on this tool, we can find uh, long tails keywords, but this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about on the DNN Connect session for SEO, because one of the questions that, it's part of the picture right now, it's if SEO is still relevant. And I've been on a couple of webinars recently about SEO and AI search. And from what I'm seeing so far, numbers that I've seen, and I will share those on the DNN Connect, um, between 70 and 80% of what you're going to find on your AI results are 100% matching what you find
Mhm.
organically on the search engine. So it's still relevant, and it's still important to focus on keywords. Now, one of the reasons, Daniel, for us to focus on the strong keywords, especially in my country, where, since we're a small country and most of the businesses are medium or small, the strong keywords are the ones that are going to allow us to or give us more opportunity in a short-term period to give organic traffic to the clients. Long tails usually will have less traffic than short tail, but in Costa Rica, for us, in our case particularly, it's been working great to focus on short, especially on products or services that we know that, there is market and there are competitors, but it's not international market or it's not international competitors. So we are focusing more on the product itself and what people usually look for.
Mhm. Yep.
Anyone else?
I'm good. I think we should wrap up. Let's move on to, we're going to do one more somewhat quick demo. Hang on one second. I'll get my screen set up again, I think. Aaron, you still here?
Yep, still here.
Cool. All right. So try not to distract myself with any of these. I need this, and then we'll go. There we go. Screen's not shared, is it? Oops. Where's that? That. See my screen?
Almost. Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm logged into a DNN 10.2.3 site running Too Sexy 21.5. Wow, I thought I had 21.7 already. All right. What we're going to do here, well, I'll let Aaron introduce himself because Aaron works for this company. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, should I just jump into the demo or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. So basically this is such a simple thing that I feel like I don't know why I didn't know this. So I thought I'd share because maybe other people don't know it. So um, a lot of by default, when you set up a rich text editor, so the tiny MCE and 2SXC, it's just using a default editor, which is pretty good. It covers a lot of things. So there's actually different modes. So if you can go back, Jeremy, just go back to the thing. Oh, you already have it set up actually.
Yeah,
Okay,
you and I
so
did this a week
you
ago,
and I did
right?
this.
All
Okay,
right.
so let's go back to the yeah, let's go back to the field setting
Okay.
that I think you were going to.
Yep.
So yeah, if you go to, I guess, basic content and then your text field. So by default, it's this WYSIWYG editor. But there's actually another input type, which if you go down, yeah, and you go to the WYSIWYG settings here, there's actually one called rich media, which is really useful
This is the
because it gives you
default. And this was the big
uh,
surprise to me when Aaron showed me was this rich media turns on all the settings.
does it actually turn on those settings? I don't
No,
think it
but
does.
it
I think
just,
it's
they're related.
oh, okay. So
Should I
yeah,
show them what the default looks like? Everyone knows what the default looks
sure,
like.
yeah.
And from my
Up to
point
you.
of view, I just wanted to say that the thing that surprised me is I thought there used to be different custom inputs to choose between these. And for some reason, I thought they got taken away. I had no idea they were down here at the bottom of this screen. So now with rich media on, we come back here and we can now go into basic content item. Well, I'll go back to the one here.
Yeah,
We can
let's
see
do
what
that.
we're working on.
So now
Now
you
we get
get
this.
some different controls. Those four on the end are spacers, I believe. So you can gap things out, which is such a funny thing because as for me, most of the time, I don't want my customers to gap things out. And what do they end up doing? Of course, is they end up hitting enter like 10 times for some reason. And I'm always deleting their empty paragraphs. But this is kind of a nice option. So if you want to just hit enter and then drop one of those spacers in, try that.
And
Um,
just a side note, actually the spacer was added because of the pictures.
Mhm.
okay, gotcha.
Because if you would add, let's say you had a picture on the left and then text on the right using the rich thing, which you're going to show in just a moment,
Mhm.
then there was a necessity to be able to say, I'm going to have a break now, right? And it
Right,
was really
right.
important to be able to say, here's where this set stops. And then often the text would be stuck to the picture, depending on what kind of a picture you'd have. So it was necessary to add the different spacers.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. So one problem that I used to always have is that I just had a default text editor and then clients would just drop images in here, but they wouldn't really have a lot of control over the layouts. And so this rich media version allows you to, as you can see, Jeremy just dropped in an image. Now you have these image options and you can set it to like, let's say 1/3. So width 1/3. And did you already float that left?
I did
Um,
not. They'll stack left automatically, won't they?
I don't think so, but
It's
you might
just
as
on the
well.
left
So,
side because that's the flow, but it doesn't, it's not, see the cursor at the bottom now. If you click on it and say it's supposed to be aligned left, then the cursor will move up.
Yeah, I'm just going to get two on the page so we know what we're playing with. I don't know what
okay.
just, oof, I don't know what just happened.
Did you actually drop it in the right spot?
Yeah,
Or, okay.
I guess I didn't wait
Looks
long
good.
enough. So again, get
So,
this down
yeah.
to a third. Where did the third go? There we go. Now they're side
Yeah.
by side.
I think you still have to hit the left line button, I believe. On like, I
Yes,
think
and
on
also
each
add
of
the
them.
spacing.
There we go. So
Right.
like that.
And then you can drop in a third image.
Oops, sorry. So now a third image is here. Let's
By the way,
do
you don't have
this.
to go into that thing. You can just drop it into the WYSIWYG.
Oh, really?
You're doing a step
Yep.
too much.
All right. I
Just
didn't know
drop it
that.
right
Let's
there.
go straight to there.
There you go.
Wow.
And then, yeah, just hit the left align and then 1/3.
Yeah, being able to do this was, to me, seeing this only a week ago, I didn't realize how much of this was here now.
Yeah.
Revolutionary.
So now you hit, just go ahead and hit save. on that one. So now you have images that are in columns, and it's super easy for content editors to actually manage that. And I believe you get the added benefit of being able to manage does it do the little image toolbar thing? Yeah, so when you go back to the page when you're outside of the this editor,
Oh yeah, that thing.
and you
How
hover over the image,
Yeah, you had it
not
there. You just have to give it a few, you
there
have
it
to
is.
give it
yeah,
about a
there you
second
go.
for it to appear.
You can now configure, go ahead and click on that. You can configure, let's turn on the light box. Yeah, or you can configure cropping. You can give it the alt text in the description. And then, yeah, crop focus, all that kind of stuff. And then the very bottom, you can even turn on the light box if you wanted to. So I think because you change it to not crop, it's using different resizes. Obviously, that's why it took a long time to load.
Yeah.
So you should be able to click on that. There you go. Cool.
And there's a
Such
zoom.
a simple concept and yet so very important
Yeah, and
for
you and I
content editors.
did one more thing. We did something so that we got the heights of them the same. What was that trick? I feel like you and I discovered it together. What was that? Do you remember we did that the
Uh,
other day?
did we? I mean, like the cropping might have to do with it. Well, I mean, you can do square sizing, I believe, right?
You
Maybe
could
that
do
was it.
these
There's
resize settings,
square, yeah.
and there's another way to do it, but I'll let you just show this
There we
first.
go.
Yeah.
This is really nice because there's a lot of situations where you want your images to line up. This is one way, but I really like that. Anyhow, there's a ton of features here that need to be played with. And honestly, and I apologize since Daniel Metler's here, but I knew this stuff existed at one point, maybe over a year ago, and somehow they vanished from my awareness. And I thought they weren't there anymore. And I wish I hadn't, I wish I had explored it better back then so I knew where to go.
Yeah. Just one more thing, because you
Sure.
guys might not be aware of it. You can also configure presets. You could, again, we made this, I believe it's almost 2 years ago already. And I'm sorry for not surfacing it more, obviously. But for example, if you wanted all the pictures in blog posts to always have certain proportions, you should be able to do that without having to do it on each picture. And
Oh, I see.
so that means you could do that too. You want to know how?
Sure.
Okay. So if you go to the content type,
All right.
Oh, I think I actually have seen this. I
Oh,
think I was playing
I shouldn't have
around.
gone there. Sorry. Let's go to the right place. All right.
and let's say you
Fields
would go to
or
are we on a basic content here?
yes.
Okay, yeah, go to the fields. And now it's been a while, but if you go to the metadata, what's the next one? Maybe the next one does it. Let me just check. It's been a while. What
Yeah,
does the
it's the
the one
beside the
right
metadata,
beside
isn't
it?
it?
The
The
one
little
beside the
square with the
metadata.
dot.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one there.
Image config.
Image. Yeah. So
Yeah,
click
you need to
that.
be on the image field though. You're on the text field.
No, it's
But
like you can
that's
do it for
the
both.
yeah, because it's inside, it's images inside the text field, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So just go
Uh,
back to where you were before.
Okay. So it's in here.
So here, yep. Right. And so, for example, here you could specify things. So click on that and use like a different crop. And now here you could say they're always square, for example. Of course, if you
Now I
set it
get
on
it.
the image itself, it's going to override it. But let's say, I mean, very typical, you might always say, I'm going to have a 16:9 ratio, right? That's like a common setup or something. And then if you set it here, then the moment you drop it on the WYSIWYG, it's going to respect that.
Okay, so right now, if I've done person, you're saying if I come back here,
You would kind of have to remove it from these people.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
need
you
to
know
go
the
into each
rule.
one and remove it.
Yeah, and you could also say that the gallery is always automatically there, for example.
All right,
Right
so
now you had to set it on each picture, but if you did it by default on the field, then it would apply to everything.
all right, so now it has no resize settings, and it's going to come back.
So you took the person configuration in the default. And that is, I'd have to check again, or I think you took the person.
I did do person, yeah.
Yeah. So you can do a preset and say all the pictures in the blog, for example, will always have a light box and they will be in a gallery, right? Because very often you'd like it when you open one of them to keep on swiping.
Yeah. All around, though, this is really nice to rediscover. I need to play with it so I get my head around all the features. But yeah, thanks, Aaron, for bringing this back in my life again.
With
I was
with the
excited when it was being added, and then I just lost track of it.
with the 3 photos like that, how is it responsive at all, or what happens when you go to a smaller window?
It's totally responsive. In this
Wow.
mode, it's actually going to it's going to remember. In the WYSIWYG, it actually has a little bit more HTML that it puts there, which is not relevant for the output, but which is necessary to pick up the picture. And it'll actually get all the resize parameters and everything in there. And depending on which features you have activated, it's even going to create a picture tag instead of an image tag with like 8 different sizes. And the browser's just going to pick the right one.
I should also reveal that we're accidentally demoing. You'll see this if you look over here. We are in the Tailwind version of the content app, which not even Daniel Metler has ever seen before. So all of this stuff is completely converted to Tailwind and rewritten so that we
All
can do
right.
things that way. However, we're only at like 90%. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think some things are not working quite right to Daniel's expectations because he's used to his Bootstrap 5 version being very specific. We're probably missing a few things that we didn't know what they were there for. So we set them aside. So anyhow, just confessing, this is not a completely finished Tailwind version of the content app, but it's pretty far along. And now that I know this is here, we'll be able to work out those additional features because when we work on this, we compare it side by side with Bootstrap 5 and try and make it exactly the same. It's pretty far
Cool.
along.
I'd like to point out 2 more details just so you're
Sure.
kind of aware of it. So the first thing, maybe you could show the source code again that you were showing there.
Sure.
So one thing to note is that all of this only works if, like on line 33, you use the item.html, right? That's going to do all the processing inside it. It's going to check out all the metadata, extract the pictures, create the toolbars, all that stuff is going to happen in there. If you just did an html.raw, this would not happen. The second thing to note is this is going to realize that we're in very rich mode, and it's going to load another CSS along with, it's going to, activate the CSS, that feature, because it needs that to get all the image alignments and everything to work as they should. And you don't notice that, but line 33 does all of that.
Cool.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, yeah, if you're looking for, I think it's called WYSIWYG-container.css. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for the CSS for that, that's where you can find it. So that's, yeah, there's no CSS that you have to write to get that going. It's just out of the box.
Yeah. And the reason why that, let's say, premium experience is not the default, and here you can see, by the way, it also creates picture tags instead of image tags, right? This is quite neat.
Yeah.
And the reason, again, why we didn't make this the default WYSIWYG is because you need to have the HTML output using that image, that data.html. Without that change in the output in the Razor template, it wouldn't work. And so we would have a very weird experience where the WYSIWYG would look nice, but then the output would fall apart.
Gotcha.
All right. I think we're good. All right. I don't really have a script or anything to say as far as a wrap up. Any last questions for anyone? If not, I would like to go ahead and stop the recording. And if you guys want to hang out, I think some of us might chat for a little bit. So thanks very much for the people who showed up. And for anyone watching online, we're hoping to get the entire video posted. We're expecting to split it up into pieces. So we have smaller 5, 8, and 10-minute videos to show off in the future. And we'll get a lot of modern DNN content out there. So anyhow, you guys know where to find us, hopefully on Discord, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.